Hey guys, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came through yesterday to the live stream. Um, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and after rewatching the video, I know I have a lot to work on, like as I guess a teacher. I don't know what to consider myself, but I mean, I'm nothing compared to you know the other guys like AJ, Cody, Casey, and I wish I could like speak as well as they do. I every time I every time I watch myself, it always looks like I'm talking in public for the first time, and I don't know, it just hasn't really been getting easier. But or that it doesn't seem like it. Hopefully, like the more I practice, the better I get, and that's why I like have my channel and I'm doing these videos because not because I think I'm like a great speaker or anything like that. It's just because I'm trying to get better at it. I know it's something that I really need to do. So yeah, enough about that. Let's get into this. This is the first time that I'm doing like a astrology centered decode. And so this is gonna be all about the death of O.J. Simpson. And like I said, since this is my first time doing this type of decode, I'm still pretty new to astrology stuff, and if I get anything wrong, please correct me. So let's just get started. So he died of cancer, and he was a Cancer. He was born July 9th, which is during Cancer, and that's why I just thought it was interesting with the fact that he died at age 76. That stood out to me right away because Capricorn is the symbol is a 76. When you look at it, it's a 7 and a 6 put together. And so he died on 4/10, and that correlates to the two houses of Cancer and Capricorn, 4/10. See? And they oppose each other, they're opposites. So there's a lot to say about that. Like that all already is a huge connection. And then when I didn't even know until after I put this together that he was in the movie Capricorn 1, where it's a failed mission to Mars. So that solidified it all to me, and so I believe that that movie Capricorn 1 was like one of many predictive programmings for foreshadowing his death, which would be related to Capricorn because he was born July 9th, 1947, and from the very initial release in Japan of Capricorn 1, it was 30 years, 22 weeks exactly, and that is the 322 Skull and Bones, also known as the Brotherhood of Death. And now we're going to get into the Libra and Aries connection. Like I just mentioned, how he died in Aries, and then that movie Capricorn 1 is about a failed mission to Mars, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So the Libra aspect is that connects to his trial, his acquittal. He was acquitted in Libra, October 3rd, 1995. So if you look here, those are also opposing each other, those houses, Aries and Libra, 1-7. And those four houses, that's the cardinal cross of the zodiac. Capricorn in the 10th house, Cancer in the 4th house, opposites. Like he died at age 76, which represents Capricorn. Died of cancer. Aries is the first house. He died in Aries. And Libra represents his acquittal in the 7th house. 10, 4, 1, 7. So now when we go from the acquittal date, October 3rd, 1995, to his death, it was 10, 4, 1, 7 days. 10, 4, 1, 7. Just like 10, 4, 1, 7. So that really, like, that should speak for itself. Like, it's just impossible for that to be a coincidence. 10, 4, 1, 7 days. And when you go from 10, 4, 1, 7 to his death, it's 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days. You guys know all about that number, right? I believe so. So just a double whammy right there. Now we're going to talk about, one second. Michael the Archangel, the connection to him, because he's heavily symbolized with the Cardinal cross, as you can see here. And Michael the Archangel equals 76. Just like O.J. Simpson died at age 76. Cardinal cross. The sign of Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn. And Saturn, the Greek equivalent of Saturn is Cronus. And Cronus in the keypad cipher is 36. And as you can see here, O.J. Simpson, he wore number 36. And Capricorn is the sea goat. And you can see right here, the sea goat. And O.J. Simpson also wore the number 32. And sea goat equals 32 in keypad cipher. And thank you to Casey Jones for this, and he helped me a lot with all this astrology stuff. But this is like, there's a few that are like directly from him, and this is one of them. So from OJ's birth to his death, it was exactly 4,005 weeks, and for like 45. So that represents the magic square of Saturn, which is a 3x3 grid. And it's all the numbers between 1 and 9 consecutively. And when you add those numbers, like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to 9, it equals 45. So further corroborating that connection with Saturn and Capricorn and his death. And so this was another way that you can write Chronos. And yeah, as you can see here, so the Greek ordinal of Chronos is 109, and okay, so this is the magic square of Saturn again. We just looked at that right here. So what I did, I started from the top and went down for each of the rows. So I went 438 plus 5951 plus 276 equals 1,665. And when you convert that into the date 1665 to OJ's death, it's 59 years, 95 days. And that's actually the 109th triangular number, like how Chronos in Greek, or yeah, like the translation is 109. And again, Chronos is Saturn. So, further looking at the 5995, the 109th triangular number. So when you convert that into the date 5995, going from OJ's death to 5995, it's 853 months exactly, and that's the 147th prime number, 147. And that's interesting because the famous quote from the trial, "If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit," equals 147. And it's also really interesting that April 10th equals 147, just like the date of his death. Again, the magic square of Saturn is, what did I do this time? Okay, so I extracted these three numbers here. So again, it's a 3x3 grid, and it's the numbers between 1 and 9 consecutively, like we talked about. And I was just focusing on the sum of the magic square, which is 45. So 3, 9, and 4, 5. So when you convert that into the date 3945, from OJ's death to 3945, it's 7,639 days, and that is the 969th prime number. The reason why that is interesting is because this I took this from the original Wikipedia post or entry of Saturn, and the original recorded speed of Saturn was 9.69 kilometers per second. Right now it's 9.68, but originally for a while it was 9.69. So it's just really wild that it was from his death to 3945. These numbers coming from the magic square of Saturn is the 969th prime amount of days. It's pretty big. That is pretty big. Looking at the 969 a little bit more, the prime factorization is 3 times 17 times 19. And when you convert that into the date 3/17/19 to OJ's death, it's 5 years and 25 days. And then that goes back to Mars, because that represents the magic square of Mars, which is a 5x5 grid. So 5, the number 5 is so associated with Mars because it's 5 rows and 5 columns, and it's all the numbers between 1 and 25 consecutively. So 25 is the highest number. And again, Capricorn 1, it was a failed mission to Mars, and Mars rules Aries. OJ died in Aries. So Cancer, the symbol is a 69, and Capricorn is a 76. So I put those two numbers together and got 6976, or I turned it into that date. And when you go from OJ's birth to 6976, it's exactly 347 months, and that is the 69th prime number, 347. Just like Cancer, and he died of cancer. So now we're going to be looking at the sky on the day of his death, and I don't know what time he died, but this is midday, but it should be fine still. And we're going to be comparing it to his football career and show another possible predictive programming from that. So he was drafted to the Buffalo Bills in 1969, 69 like Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. And OJ was a Cancer. He died of cancer. And again, Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, we're going to be connecting that to Taurus. Right here, Taurus. And the moon was in Taurus when he died, the day of his death. So I think that's a big clue. And he ended his career when his career ended, or his football career ended in 1979. 1979 is the 299th prime number. The prime factorization of 299 is 13 times 23. 13 and 23 is the 6th and 9th prime numbers. Like how Cancer is a 69 and he died of cancer. Cancer, we looked at this before, but again, reiterating that Cancer starts at the 4th house, Capricorn, 10th house, 410. He died on 410. And the 410th prime number is 2 times 5 times 41. When you convert that into the date 2541, comparing that to going from that date to OJ's death, it's 30,381 days. That's the 246 triangular number. And Orenthal James Simpson, his whole name equals 246 in ordinal. And looking at that once more, the 2541 prime factorization of 410 from 2541 to OJ's birth. So the first one was his death. This is his birth this time, so both his birth and death are connected to that. It's exactly 335 weeks, and a California civil jury awarded $33.5 million to the family of Ron Goldman, who was one of the victims of the murder that OJ was on trial for, alongside his wife, Nicole Brown. And acquittal actually equals 10-4, 10-4, just like 10-4. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, so that I think that's a really solid connection too. Again, reiterating, he died at age 76 during Aries. 76 connects to Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Aries is ruled by Mars. And the day of his death, there was a Mars and Saturn conjunction. And this is another one that I got directly from Casey Jones, so thank you, Casey. And there's a lot more to elaborate on to this. This I also got from Casey. Well, he just brought to my attention how O.J. Simpson was in Roots, and he connected that to the root chakra. And the root chakra, the planets that are associated with the root chakra are Saturn and Mars, just like how there is a Saturn-Mars conjunction the day of his death, and he was in Roots. So that's, again, lined up perfectly like that. So as most of you know, O.J. Simpson, he was on trial for murder, double murder, and that's Penal Code Section 187. The 187th day of the year is July 6th, so that's 7/6. I thought that was really interesting, and like how he died at age 76, and from that day, 7/6, to the day that he died, it's exactly 40 weeks. O.J. Simpson equals 40. And now, looking at the 4-10 relationship we've been looking at this whole time, with Cancer in the 4th house, Capricorn in the 10th house, 4 times 10 equals 40. and he died on 410. Now we're gonna look at the magic square of the moon, because remember, Cancer is ruled by the moon. The magic square of the moon is a 9x9 grid, and it's all the numbers between 1 and 81 consecutively. And when you add up all the numbers between 1 and 81, like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to 81, it equals 3,321. When you convert that into the date 3321 to OJ's death, it's exactly 162 weeks. And that's interesting because 76, when you write that out, it equals 162 in ordinal. Again, he died at age 76. And OJ's death to the 76th day of the year. First of all, the 76th day of the year is really interesting regarding this whole situation. It's March 17th, and that day leaves 289 days left in the year. And Mars equals 289, just like how Mars rules Aries. He died in Aries. Capricorn 1, the movie Capricorn 1, was a failed trip to Mars. And from his death to, well, basically he died 341 days before the next upcoming 76th day of the year. And that's interesting because the prime factorization of 341 is 11 times 31. And that's the 5th and 11th prime numbers. And Saturn in Latin equals 511, like 511. And this part is going to have to do with him being on the 49ers. We're going to be looking at that same 76th day of the year. So from the previous 76th day of the year to, or not the one that just passed, but the last year's 76th day of the year in 2023. It's 12 months, 25 days from the 76th day of the year in 2023 to his death. And 1225 represents Venus, the magic square of Venus, as well as him being on the 49ers. So the magic square of Venus is a 7x7 grid. And it's all the numbers between 1 and 49 consecutively, which is how that connects to Venus, to the 49ers. And when you add up all the numbers between 1 and 49, like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to 49, it equals 1,225, just like 12 months, 25 days from the 76th day of this year to his death. One more thing that's kind of interesting about that, I didn't write it, but with Mars equaling 289, the 289 equals 17 squared, so 17 times 17, and 17 is the 7th prime number, so that would break down to 7 and 7, just like how the magic square of Venus is 7x7. So very interesting connection with him and all these planets. This one is really telling right here in regards to Mars. I forget if did we already break this down? Anyways, again, magic square of Mars, 5x5 grid, all the numbers between 1 and 25, and when you add up all the numbers between 1 and 25, 1 plus 2 plus 3, all the way to 25, it equals 325. So we're just going to be extracting the 325. And, oh, I forgot to mention that when each row and each column, they each add up to 65. So when you add this plus this plus this plus this plus this, 65, and then when you do the same for all the rows and all the columns, it equals 65. So extracting these two numbers, the total and then the total of each row and column, converting the 325 into this date, 325 of the year 65. When you go from his death to 325.65 going forward, it's exactly 2,137 weeks. Exactly. And that is the 322nd prime number for your 322 skull and bones. And keep in mind that he died in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. Magic square of Mars. Alright, looking at the 76 more, the 7th prime, like splitting up the 7 and the 6, the 7th prime is 17 and the 6th prime is 13. So you get 17, 13. Now, this was, I'll admit this was experimental, but I don't think this is a coincidence. I'm glad I stumbled upon this. So 1713, like the year 1713. So I made the date, I went from the date 7/6/1713. So that's a very coded date right there, 7/6/1713, to his birth. It's 12,210 weeks, like 1221 weeks exactly. And this heavily connects to Saturn, Capricorn's ruling planet, because the time of 1221 is 741 minutes into the day. Thanks again, Casey, for the help with that. So 12:21 p.m. is 741 minutes into the day, and Saturn equals 741. And that's also really interesting because 741 is the 38th triangular number, and 38 plus 38 is 76. So 76 cut in half is 38. So this is all super coded. Casey helped me a lot with this, actually. I experimented with this, and I told him about this duration that I found. This was all I had at that point, and then he helped me out with, like, when I told him about the 1221, he reminded me that it was 741 minutes, and then how Saturn equals 741, and this part too. So yeah, thanks a lot to Casey for that. And this part is okay. I mean, we're continuing with that 741 and Saturn, all that stuff, but this is gonna be very technical, so please bear with me. But I guarantee that there's a lot to this, and it's not a reach if you stick around to the end. So, like we showed, 741 is the 38th triangular number. Saturn equals 741 and 38 in the keypad cipher. So when you write out 741 in Latin, it's 1571. OJ's death to 1571, it's 17071 days, like 1771. So this is continuing on, looking at 17, like how this is going to connect to Capricorn and Saturn. So the 17th prime number is 59, and the 59th prime number is 277. So first of all, when you add 17 plus its prime number, which is 59, it equals 76. Like how he died at age 76. And it's reflective of this, because like 17 and 71, like this is its mirror, 1771. But more so than that, when you add 17 plus 59 plus the 59th prime, which is 277, it equals 353, and 353 is the 71st prime number. So by doing that technique with adding the prime numbers, going from 17, you get back to 71. So that's why this is really significant right here, from the 1771, because it's basically showing this whole thing here, like 17 all the way to here, which you get your 76, and then all the way back to 71. What's interesting is that 1771 is the 21st tetrahedral number, and Saturn equals 21. Now we're going to look at the prime factors of 1771, which is 7 times 11 times 23. When you go from that date, 7/11/23, to OJ's death, it's 274 days, and that is the 1759th prime number. Just like how the 17th prime number is 59, and 17 plus 59 is 76. So how crazy is it that from the date that represents 1771, 7/11/23, to OJ's death is 274 days, and the 274th prime number is 1759. That is actually insane. And I know it requires a lot to get there, but it's not even over, actually. So looking at the 274, the prime factorization of 274 is 2 times 137, and we looked at that number earlier. The 2137 is the 322nd prime number. Skull and Bones 322. It's so perfect. That whole thing. I just want to reiterate that, like, that's why it's really crazy that going from 741 equals 1571 in Latin, from OJ's death to 1571 is 17071 days. Like, everything after this slide makes this really, really unbelievable. So again, Saturn equals 741 in standard, but 741, which that's another way you would write that. So 741 in satanic, it equals 579, and the 5th prime, or 5 is the 3rd prime, and 79 is the 22nd prime, like 322. That's interesting, because we just looked at 322. And the number 579, the prime factorization is 3 times 193. So we're going to be looking at this number right here, 3,193, when you put those two numbers together. So this is going to have to do with the span of time between the births of O.J. Simpson and his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, who he was on trial for her murder with Ron Goldman. And they were born exactly 4,333 days apart, a span. And that connects to the planet Jupiter. Jupiter, it takes 4,333 Earth days to orbit the sun for Jupiter. And that's going to be, like, that's all I'm going to say about the Jupiter connection right now. But I'm going to have to make another video about this. Like, it's so there's so much, and the Jupiter part is really crazy, just really revolving around her death. But this is the only part I'm gonna say about Jupiter for now. So when you convert that into this date 4333 to Nicole Brown's death, it's exactly 3,193 weeks. Like how the prime factorization of 579 is 3 times 193, 3193, 3193, and then 741 equals 579. Saturn equals 741. Really wild. And that 322, this 322 part it connects to Ron Goldman even further. So you remember 5 is the third prime, 79 is the 22nd prime. So Ron Goldman equals 322 in Latin. This was her friend who was murdered as well on the same day. It was all part of the same thing. And when you go from 3193 to Ron and Nicole's deaths, which was June 12th, 1994, it was 66 weeks and 6 days. So again, like, what are the odds of all that? Just to reiterate where this is all coming from, the 3193, that's the prime factorization of 579. 741 equals 579 in Satanic. Saturn equals 741. O.J. Simpson died at 76, which is totally connected to the Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. It's all there. This is super interesting too. So, like I said, his death was in Aries, and he's notorious for murder, for the double murder. But he was acquitted, but that's his legacy. So murder equals 8338, just like Aries equals 8338 in the same cipher. Same two ciphers. And the 76th prime is like a palindrome of 38 and 83, 383. So that's pretty interesting to me that the 76 connects to that as well. 8338. And the 383rd prime is 2647. And when you convert that into this date, 2647, from OJ's death to 2647 is 8,338 days. 8338. Just like murder and Aries equal 8338 in the same two ciphers. I like forgot how crazy it was, and then like as I'm doing this video right now, it's like hitting me again. But that's, I don't know, I feel like I'm really solving something big, and it's kind of scary, but whatever. And when you go from 3883, like converting that into 3883 to OJ's death, it's 15,010 days span. And that's interesting because OJ is 15 and 10, like 15 and 10. Now we're going to be talking about the movie that he was in, Naked Gun. And thank you, Casey, for reminding me about this. And this is going to tie in the Wormwood stuff. Like I wasn't even talking about Wormwood right now, but this is going to tie in all the stuff I've learned from 7-1 about 3313. Let's just review this real quick because it's going to be important for the last few slides. As you can see, Naked Gun, 33 and a third, 3313. O.J. Simpson, he was in that movie. 3313, what that is, it's showing this huge emphasis on Revelation 8:11, this triad between Revelation 6:12, Revelation 8:11, and Revelation 9:11. 6:12 is about the great earthquake. 8:11 is about wormwood, which connects to nuclear, because the Ukrainian translation of the word wormwood is Chernobyl, like the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. And 9/11 represents 9/11 and Apollyon the destroyer. When you add 612 plus 811 plus 911 together equals 2,334. So that's why this is associated with the Great Pyramid of Giza, because the length of each side of the base of the pyramid is 230.34 meters, like 2334. And the 3313, where that comes from, is basically referencing the distance of verses from 612 to 811, which is 33 verses, and from 811 to 911, which is 13 verses. So 3313 is basically it's like this is all about 811 being in the center of that whole trio. So 3313, Naked Gun, 33 and a third. So going back to the 83 and 38, from 8338 to OJ's birth is exactly 466 weeks, and the 466 prime number is 3313. So again, like, I know, we went from his birth, but this still has so much to do with his legacy, his death, dying in Aries, and like all the stuff with Mars, about his career with Capricorn 1 in the movie, where it was a failed mission to Mars. And then even on the calendar, like I showed before, how 7/6 leaves 289 days left in the year, and Mars equals 289, and Aries is ruled by Mars, so it's all connected. But that's wild to me that 8338 to his birth is exactly 466 weeks, and he happens to be in Naked Gun 33 and a third. And I think this is the last slide. So further looking into these three verses, so Revelation 6:12 is the 108th verse of Revelation. I wrote that wrong, sorry. Revelation 8:11 is the 141st verse of Revelation. Revelation 9:11 is the 154th verse of Revelation. 108 plus 141 plus 154 equals 403. And the 403rd prime is 2,767. And the famous, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. We looked at that earlier, but it also in Latin equals 2767. So that fits like a glove, no pun intended. But that's not a code, this is just like overview notes. But that's it, that's all I got for this. I have a lot more, and yeah, Casey, if you're watching this, you'll probably notice, like, I didn't get to the serious stuff. I'm gonna have to make a whole different video about that. Hopefully, if you're down, maybe we could do, I don't know, a video together on that. But there's just so much, and I think a lot of stuff is, I guess, just getting overlooked. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so I don't blame anybody. Like, I'm not saying it in a condescending way, but I'm just trying to, emphasize like how each of these events is extremely coded, like so much more coded than like we've probably even found, which scares me. As much as we found out about all the huge events and how much coding there's been, decodes there have been, we might still not have even scratched the surface, which scares me, you know. But hopefully this could have been an example of that, because like there's been a lot of there's already a lot of solid ways that people have found that this death was more than what meets the eye, you know. Way simpler ones, like things that you could show in like 2 slides. And I don't disagree with any of that, you know. I'm always my whole goal is to fill in the blanks and to share as much as I can that's not being shared. I usually don't share things that are that most people probably already know. Like I'll definitely share things that have been shared, but in a way where it's gonna fit into the overall picture that I'm trying to paint. And yeah, like I just wouldn't want to do anything redundantly where I'm just repeating points that people have already made. Hopefully I did an okay job with all this astrology stuff. Please give me some feedback. I learned most of my astrology, like decoding abilities, whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but like from Casey Jones and from 7-1, and I've been learning a lot from Rambo too. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to get more knowledge in. So again, if you're out there watching this and you have a lot of knowledge with astrology and you don't think I did that great of a job, then please just give me some positive, constructive feedback. Or not positive, just give me some constructive feedback if you can. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna, like I said, there's gonna be maybe 3 or 4 parts to this, because this OJ Simpson thing is a lot crazier than what I'm seeing right now. Like I have my eyes out for. I've seen as many decodes as I possibly have, like, can possibly see on OJ Simpson so far, from the decoders that I know at least. And from the looks of it, I think I can just tell, yeah, that this is way deeper than what most people are aware of right now. That's all I was trying to say. That's another thing I'm really bad at, man. I'm just really bad at articulating my thoughts. I feel like my thoughts are way more complex than the vocabulary that I have, or my ability to just like get it out. And I talk in circles. That's another thing I realized. I was watching the video and I talk in circles like ridiculously, and I just was doing it. I just talked in circles right now by trying to explain that. So yeah, I'm aware of all these things, all these flaws. I wish I was either better at doing this with like all this, you know, knowledge that God's given me, or I just wish that I didn't have this knowledge and I was able to use my like the skills that I do have for like something that's more fitting. But yeah, it just seems like I'm put in this position where like I know like God's given me like this knowledge, and I guess I could technically write a blog, just a blog where I don't have to talk. But I don't know. That's not as fun. So, like I said, I'm just using these as like I'm trying to get the information out at the same time as practicing all the skills that I'm lacking, and over time all I can do is hope that I just get better at it. I do feel a little bit more comfortable. I feel a little bit more comfortable talking. Like internally, it feels more comfortable, but when I watch it, it doesn't look like it at all. Well, not to me at least. So hopefully, I can get to a point where I'm like, I feel so comfortable that I can have more control over how it's being projected, if that makes sense. But that's all I gotta say. Thank you guys for watching this, if you watched the whole way through, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.